What if the very act of trying to fix your problems, like constantly striving to manage your stress, is the exact reason you feel so overwhelmed?
Yeah, I mean, we live in a culture that tells us reality is, well, heavy. Every deadline, every conflict, every person we interact with just feels like a solid, unyielding brick.
Right, and when you navigate a world made entirely of heavy bricks, it's only a matter of time before you get crushed under the weight of it all.
Exactly.
Yeah.
We spend so much energy trying to arrange those bricks perfectly, you know? We build these walls to protect ourselves, or we try to construct this ideal permanent shelter.
But the foundation is always cracking.
It is, yeah.
Yeah.
Because the material we think we are working with just isn't what it appears to be at all.
Well, today we are going to look at that material through a completely different ancient lens. We are jumping into a deep dive on a really incredible stack of sources.
It's a fantastic collection.
Mhm.
We're looking at everything from ancient Indian and Tibetan commentaries to the writings of 13th century Zen masters.
Yeah, and modern meditative guides too. And all of these texts circle around one of the most famous, profound, and really concise spiritual documents in human history, the Heart Sutra.
It really is profound. I mean, it's a text chanted daily by millions of people across the globe, yet its core message is designed to completely shatter our everyday assumptions about what is real and what isn't.
Right. And our mission for this deep dive is to bypass all the centuries of academic noise. We aren't going to get bogged down in sectarian debates or, historical timeline.
Oh, definitely not.
Instead, we want to invite you into the calming, clarifying core of this teaching. We are exploring the concept of emptiness and the actual practical meditation that brings the mind to a state of just profound peace.
It's very practical.
So wherever you are right now, whether you are commuting, doing dishes, or just sitting there, I want to invite you to take a deep breath, let your shoulders drop, just prepare to view your reality through a much lighter, more serene lens.
That's a great way to start.
To begin to understand this serene state of mind, we have to visit the sacred setting where this sutra supposedly unfolds, right? We have to confront its most shocking declaration.
Yeah, the setting is crucial here. The sutra takes place at Vulture Peak, which is a mountain in ancient India.
Okay.
But in the classical texts, Vulture Peak isn't just a geographical location. It is described as a place so spiritually stable and foundational that it is considered entirely immovable.
Wow.
Like earthquakes might shake the rest of the cosmos, but Vulture Peak remains absolutely still.
So it's the ultimate vantage point, really, and sitting there in deep meditation is Avalokiteshvara.
Right.
Now, for those who might not be familiar, Avalokiteshvara is the bodhisattva of compassion. And a bodhisattva is essentially an awakened being who has vowed to help all other beings find freedom before themselves.
Exactly. And he looks down at this brilliant disciple named Shariputra, and he delivers a phrase that has just echoed through the centuries.
He says, "Form is emptiness. Emptiness is form."
It is such a paradigm-shifting statement, and, he doesn't stop at physical form either. He goes on to list what Buddhist psychology calls the 5 aggregates.
Right, the components that make up our entire human experience.
Yes. He says that our physical form, our feelings, our perceptions, our mental formations, and our consciousness are all entirely empty.
Okay, let's unpack this because the immediate reaction almost anyone has to the word emptiness, or Śūnyatā in Sanskrit, is just a deep sense of dread.
Oh, absolutely.
We hear empty, and we instantly imagine a dark, depressing void. We think of nihilism. We assume the sutra is saying that nothing matters, your life is a joke, and nothing actually exists.
Yeah, that's a very common reaction.
But looking through our sources, especially the modern translations by Zen master Thich Nhat Hanh, that dread is based on a massive linguistic misunderstanding.
What's fascinating here is that the Western concept of emptiness implies an absence of something that should be there.
Like an empty cup.
Exactly. But in the context of the Heart Sutra, emptiness does not mean non-existence. It means the absence of a separate, permanent, independent self.
Right.
The texts use incredibly evocative metaphors to explain this. They compare our physical bodies and our mental states to a lump of sea foam or a water bubble in a rushing stream.
Or a mirage in the desert.
Yes, exactly. A magical illusion.
Let's ground that with a specific analogy from the text because I think it helps a lot. Think of a simple balloon. Just because a balloon is empty on the inside doesn't mean the balloon itself doesn't exist.
Right.
You can hold it, it has a color, it floats. Or take the beautiful analogy of a flower. If you look deeply at a flower, what is it actually made of?
It's entirely composed of non-flower elements.
Yes, it's made of soil, sunlight, water, time, space. If you were to somehow extract the sunlight and the water from the flower, there would literally be no flower left.
The flower is completely empty of a separate, independent self. It cannot exist in isolation.
Right.
It has to, as Thich Nhat Hanh translates it, interexist with the entire cosmos.
I love that term, interexist.
It's beautiful. And this applies to those 5 aggregates of Avalokiteshvara mentioned. Take mental formations, for example.
Okay.
This is a term for the immediate psychological biases or habits that arise in your mind. Like if you see a shadow and jump because you think it's a snake, that fear is a mental formation.
But that fear isn't a solid brick. It's a reaction to the lighting, your past experiences, your nervous system. It's a bubble. And it pops.
Precisely. Recognizing that your anger, your anxiety, and even your physical body are like mirages or bubbles isn't meant to depress you. It is meant to liberate you.
How so?
Well, when you realize that the things causing you intense stress lack a permanent, solid core, you are freed from the exhausting burden of trying to grasp them. You stop trying to build a permanent, secure fortress out of sea foam.
But, knowing this logically doesn't automatically stop the stress response when your boss sends you a passive-aggressive email.
Oh, definitely not.
You can tell yourself, my boss is a mirage made of non-boss elements, but your heart rate is still spiking.
Right, the theory only goes so far.
Yeah, so to remap our actual nervous system, to move from intellectual theory to an embodied feeling of peace, the sutra points to a specific meditative practice.
Yes. The ancient texts refer to this practice as Anupalamba Yoga, which translates to the yoga of non-apprehension.
Non-apprehension.
Yeah, and the mechanics of it are incredibly interesting because it completely subverts how we usually think about concentration. Normally, when you try to focus, you zoom in fiercely on a single object.
Like staring at a candle flame.
Exactly. Or you focus entirely on your breath at the tip of your nose.
So you were basically building a boundary. There's me over here observing the breath over there.
Yes, you are apprehending an object. But the yoga of non-apprehension is a progressive attention withdrawal technique.
Okay.
Instead of focusing in, the practitioner systematically withdraws their attention from those conceptual boundaries and sensory inputs. You literally stop trying to grasp anything at all.
Wait, if we are just progressively withdrawing our attention from our senses and our thoughts, aren't we just falling asleep? Or, zoning out like we do staring at the television after a long day?
It is a crucial distinction to make. When you zone out or fall asleep, you lose awareness. Your consciousness dims.
Right.
But in the yoga of non-apprehension, you remain acutely, vibrantly conscious. You are just radically shifting what your consciousness is doing. You are moving from a state of grasping to a state of resting.
What does that actually feel like on a cognitive or physical level as you sit there?
According to the meditative guides in our sources, it happens in stages. First, as you withdraw attention from external physical objects, you naturally begin to lose track of your spatial awareness.
Interesting.
We normally have a very rigid sense of where our skin ends and the air begins. But as you stop feeding attention to that boundary, you might feel as though you are floating in a dimensionless space.
Like your mind isn't bumping into the walls of the room anymore.
Exactly, because you've stopped mentally constructing the walls.
So you are actively noting the absence of physical boundaries. You aren't ignoring them. You are experiencing their emptiness.
Exactly. And once you settle into that boundless physical feeling, you turn inward. You withdraw attention from the internal mental chatter, the endless loop of planning, worrying, and remembering.
Dropping the internal breaths.
Right. And as those mental formations calm down, you eventually drop the heaviest brick of all the ego. You lose the rigid sense of I, me, mine. The feeling of being an isolated, separate person fighting against the universe just dissolves.
And what you are left with is what the texts call Śūnyatā vihara, dwelling in absence. The sources describe this state as ultimate coolness.
Yes, ultimate coolness.
A state of total peace and complete non-fear. You are fully awake, but resting in a vast open space where there is nothing to bump into, nothing to defend against, and absolutely nothing to fear.
It is the experiential realization of the balloon. You realize that you are empty inside, but that emptiness is light, buoyant, and totally free.
That paints a profoundly beautiful picture of what happens on the meditation cushion. But, eventually, the bell rings, your knees hurt.
Reality calls.
Yeah, you have to stand up, go to work, pay your taxes, and maybe deal with a flooded kitchen. How on earth does a serene, boundless void translate to waking, walking, messy, everyday life?
This is perhaps the most important question in the entire Mahāyāna Buddhist tradition. And it is one that the 13th century Zen master Dogen addressed with unmatched brilliance.
Okay, let's bring Dogen in.
In his masterwork, the Chögyam, Dogen insists that true wisdom, what the Heart Sutra calls prajna, is not just an intellectual idea you keep in your head.
Right.
And it's certainly not a trance state you hide away in on a meditation cushion.
Right.
For Dogen, true wisdom is an embodied action.
Here's where it gets really interesting, because if wisdom is an action, it has to show up in the mundane. And there is a quote from Dogen in our sources that initially sounds almost absurd.
I know the one you mean.
He says, the mind of eternal Buddhas is just fences, walls, tiles, and pebbles.
It sounds completely counterintuitive, doesn't it? We usually associate the mind of the Buddha with golden light or, ethereal visions, not a pebble in your driveway.
Right. But if we look at the modern commentary on Dogen by Gudo-Wafu Nishijima, the philosophy behind the pebble is mind-blowing. Nishijima explains Dogen's philosophy of action.
Which is very unique.
Yeah, he says we generally live in two ways. We are either trapped in our subjective internal thoughts, or we are reacting to the objective external material world.
Right.
But action is the precise friction point where the subject and the object collide. And action only ever happens in the absolute present moment, the here and now.
That is the genius of Dogen's perspective. When you act, when you pick up the pebble, when you touch the tile wall, the separation between the observer and the observed collapses.
You are just in it.
You're fully engaging with reality as it is.
Wow.
For Dogen, the entire great earth and the empty sky are literal expressions of the Buddha's body. The fences and the walls aren't obstacles blocking you from emptiness. They are the emptiness. Because form is emptiness, and emptiness is form.
So the physical world isn't something you need an escape hatch to get away from. Recognizing emptiness is the realization that you are intimately, seamlessly interconnected with the messy world. You are the world.
Yes. This non-dual approach flips our daily routine entirely upside down. It means the mundane act of washing the dishes or sweeping the floor is no longer a chore that is distracting you from your spiritual life.
Right. It's not a pause in your practice.
Exactly. When done with complete awareness of this interconnectedness, sweeping the floor is the very manifestation of enlightenment. You aren't rushing through the sweeping so you can go sit in a quiet room and be spiritual. The sweeping is the wisdom.
It completely elevates the ordinary. The friction of everyday life becomes the practice. But let's be honest, maintaining the perspective that I am interconnected with all things while you are stuck in gridlock traffic is incredibly difficult.
Oh, almost impossible some days.
We default back to the heavy bricks so quickly. So to help practitioners carry this cognitive shift with them into the chaos of life, the Heart Sutra provides a map and a tool.
It culminates in a mantra, a sonic anchor that practitioners can carry anywhere. The famous concluding lines of the Heart Sutra are gate, gate, paragate, persamgate, bodhi, svaha.
And the literal translation is generally given as gone, gone, gone beyond, gone completely beyond, enlightenment, hail.
That is the direct translation of the Sanskrit, yes.
So what does this all mean? If we just established with Dogen that we are already interconnected with everything and that enlightenment is found right here in the tiles and the pebbles, where exactly are we going when we chant that we have gone beyond?
If we connect this to the bigger picture, the going is not a physical journey to some mystical, far-off dimension. It is a description of a cognitive evolution.
Okay, an evolution.
Yes. The Tibetan commentaries in our sources, specifically those from scholars like Tendra Lorempa, explain that this single short mantra implicitly encodes the 5 Mahāyāna path of a bodhisattva. The mantra is literally a step-by-step roadmap for how the human mind awakens.
Let's trace the mechanics of that map. How does chanting gate actually transition a practitioner through these stages?
Well, it starts with the first gate, which simply means gone. This represents the path of accumulation.
Okay.
This is the stage where you are first exposed to these ideas. You start gathering merit, practicing ethics, and developing an intellectual understanding of emptiness. You begin the process of leaving your ordinary, ego-driven worldview behind.
It's like learning the grammar rules of a complex new language. You can't speak it fluently yet, but you are acquiring the conceptual tools you need so you aren't just babbling.
That's a perfect way to look at it. You have the tools. Then the second gate corresponds to the path of preparation.
So taking those tools to the cushion.
Right. This is where the yoga of non-apprehension we discussed earlier comes in. You take those conceptual tools onto the meditation cushion, and you begin actively rewiring your nervous system. You are preparing your mind to actually experience what you've only theorized about.
Which sets the stage for the third word, paragate, or gone beyond.
This is the massive leap. Paragate is the path of seeing. This is the precise moment where emptiness is directly, experientially realized for the very first time.
Wow.
It is a profound paradigm shift. You have gone beyond the illusion of a solid, separate self.
It's the aha moment where you don't just know the mirage is a trick of the light. You actually see through the mirage while you were standing in the desert. You stop trying to drink the sand.
Yes. But, seeing it once doesn't mean you won't fall for the trick again tomorrow when you get stressed.
Right.
That is why we have Parasamgate gone completely beyond. This maps to the path of meditation.
Wait, if we already meditate in the path of preparation, why is there a whole separate path of meditation after the breakthrough?
Because the nature of the meditation changes. Before, you were meditating to glimpse the truth. Now you are meditating to familiarize yourself with it.
Ah.
You saw the mirage for what it was, but your body still have a lifetime of conditioned habits that make you want to grasp at things. The path of meditation is where you do the hard work of weaving that realization into your everyday life, into Dogen's walking, sweeping, and talking. You are systematically burning off the residue of old, heavy habits.
Which naturally leads to the final destination in the mantra Bodhisattva.
Right. Bodhisattva corresponds to the path of no more learning. This is full Buddhahood, total unshakable awakening. The practitioner is permanently stabilized in the realization of emptiness and boundless compassion.
It is just staggering to realize that a complete psychological and spiritual framework is packed into a chant that takes less than 5 seconds to say out loud.
It's incredibly dense.
And our sources point out just how practical this is. There is a fantastic quote from the modern Tibetan teacher Lama Yeshe, who called the Heart Sutra an atomic bomb designed to pacify inner obstacle.
It's a striking image. Because we almost always externalize our obstacles. We think our primary problems are the difficult coworker, the lack of money, the bad weather, or the traffic.
Right.
But Lama Yeshe says the real obstacle isn't out there. The real obstacle is our own superstitious mind.
Superstitious meaning, well, we believe in ghosts. We believe in the ghost of the terrible meeting or the ghost of the awful day. We treat these fluid, temporary events as if they are solid, permanent entities that have an inherent existence of their own.
That is the exact superstition. We believe the world is made of heavy, permanent bricks. And because we believe that, we suffer terribly when those bricks inevitably shift, crack, or fall on us.
Yeah.
Chanting the mantra and applying the teaching of emptiness acts like an atomic bomb to that rigid, superstitious way of thinking. It completely annihilates the illusion of separateness.
So, bringing all of this together from the immovable vulture peak to the tiles and pebbles of your driveway, why does this ancient paradoxical text matter to you listening right now as you go about your modern day?
It matters because it might be the ultimate road-tested toolkit for modern anxiety. We live in an era that constantly demands we solidify our identity.
Absolutely.
They're pressured to build thicker walls, to acquire more things, to define ourselves with rigid labels. We are constantly told that we need to be heavy to matter.
And the Heart Sutra offers an immediate, accessible release valve for all that pressure. When life feels overwhelmingly heavy, when you are caught in a spiral of stress or a heated argument, you can consciously recall these analogies.
Yes.
You can remember the balloon, you can remember the mirage, you can remember the flower.
You can actively remind yourself that the situation causing you grief is entirely made of non-situation elements. It is a temporary convergence of causes and conditions.
Right, it's a fluid.
It is empty of any permanent, solid disaster. Remembering that even for just a second can instantly interrupt the stress response.
Things simply do not exist as heavily as our minds pretend they do. You do not have to carry the weight of the world on your shoulders because the world isn't heavy in the way you thought it was. You are capable of resting in that dimensionless space, intricately connected to everything, with absolutely nothing you need to grasp or defend.
It's a profound shift from carrying bricks to floating unburdened through your own life.
And as we bring this deep dive into the Heart Sutra to a close, we want to leave you with one final provocative paradox to mull over in your own quiet time. It builds directly on the core teaching we've unpacked today. Right in the middle of the sutra, Avalokiteshvara explicitly states that in emptiness, there is no path, no wisdom, and no attainment.
No attainment, meaning there is no prize waiting for you at the end of the road. There is nothing to get.
So consider this, if there is truly nothing to attain, then perhaps the very act of desperately striving for peace, the exhaustion of trying to build a perfect spiritual house out of heavy bricks, is the only thing keeping you from realizing the truth. If you stop trying to fix the mirage, you might just realize that the water you've been thirsting for has been inside you all along, and that you are already standing peacefully on the other shore.